This conference will now be recorded.
Hi everyone. So yesterday we have seen some cloud basics, right? Today we will understand what is AWS, okay, and we'll see some concepts in it, okay. So first, right, if you want to open AWS console, you have to type something like AWS dot console dot AWS dot Amazon dot com. So AWS is one of the cloud provider who provide the cloud solutions. There are some other cloud providers as like Azure, Google Cloud. Okay, most of the, like if you want to choose like who, as I mentioned earlier, no, if you want to choose, like if someone is going with infrastructure as a service, then will they will prefer AWS. If someone is uh, like if someone wants platform as a service, right, then they will go with the Azure. For infrastructure as a service, AWS is the leader. Okay. So first I will log in to this account. One second. Sorry, yes. Okay. So post I log into this AWS console, right? There will be one section called as services. In these services, right, these are the various services that are provided by the AWS. Like for spinning some virtual machines, right, you will be having some EC2 instance, and if you want to do some deployment, if you want to have some compute services, right, you have to go with this. Okay, and for machine learning, it supports some variety of products. Okay, so as well as for storage, you will be having something like this. First, right, what we will do, right, first we will understand like how to, what are the like we'll understand this console. Okay, so EC2 is nothing but a web service that will provide a resizable computing services, whether it can be something like a compute, or if you want to go for platform as a service, there is something like elastic beanstalk. Okay, for this trial edition there are around like 20 virtual machines that you can create. Okay, by default in trial version, no, you will be able to create some to 20 is the limit. Okay, so normally if you are creating one machine, okay, in your on premises, okay, the admin will be providing you some username and password for logging into the machine. In cloud, in AWS, right, you won't have this username and password. Instead of that, you will be having one certificate. Okay, using that PEM file, you will be able to download. If you are accessing from Windows or Linux, no, you will be using the same certificate to log into this machine. Okay, but how you can access from? There are multiple ways to access the EC2 instances which are created. Okay, so those are uh, one is via management console. Just now whatever I have showed is, right, this is the management console. So you have to enter the console.aws.aws.com and you have to register it, and you have to add your credit card, and then you will be able to access this site. Okay, and if you are working on some command line, or if you are working in some development kit, so these are three possibilities of accessing the AWS and spinning your resources. But first question, like my customers are present in multiple geographical locations. right? So my customers may be present in US, some customers may be present in Australia, some customers may be present in UK. So what is the preference, right? The VM or the application should be residing in the same geographical location such that the latency will be less. So what the cloud providers has come up, right? They have come up with some concepts like splitting the geographical locations into regions. Okay, so in cloud, like in every cloud provider will have something like a region. So it will be something like this. Okay, so in you will be having something like US East, US East Ohio, Northern California, okay, and Europe, Asia Pacific, something like that you will be having. Okay, but one thing is, what is region is, region is nothing but a geographical location where you want to create a VM. So in cloud, if I ask you to create a VM, first question is like where I have to create, whether I have to create it in India or whether I have to create in US or UK, right? So currently there are some 25 geographical regions. Okay, and there is one thing called as like availability zone. Availability zone is nothing but a data center. I will tell you. So I asked you to create a VM in US. What you will do, you will select one region here. Okay, US East. Okay, in that there will be some data center over here. Okay, this is your data center, and you will be creating your VM here. Okay, you will create your virtual machine here. But in case due to some failure this data center went down, then you won't access, you won't be able to access the application. So in ever, what you will do, one region will have multiple data centers actually. Okay, so in every region will have multiple data centers. Minimum is 3, minimum is 3, maximum is 6. So why you will have this multiple redundancy, right? If this data center fails, you will be having another data center to support your load. Okay, you will be having another VM deployed in data center 2. Okay, so minimum you will have 3. You will be having the third data center over here.
This is
So the
something AWS gives by default, or we have to
yes,
purchase
yes,
this?
yes. No, no. The AWS gives by default this capabilities by
Oh, okay.
default. Every cloud provider will have this.
Okay,
Okay,
thanks.
only change will be something like in Azure. Now you will be having 3. Okay, in AWS you will be having like maximum of 6. Each cloud provider will have their own like what to say, number. So this is the layman terms like DC, DC, DC. But in terminology, right, you will be calling each data center as availability zone. We'll call it as AZ. Okay, so like you will have one region. Each region will have multiple availability zones, and these two availability zones, right, will be connected with, all these three things will be connected with high bandwidth and low latency backbone networks. So these backbone networks are built by the AWS only. So there are these in these dedicated, these are dedicated lines basically, so laid between the data centers, which carry only the traffic of the AWS. Other internet traffic won't be like like uh, it won't carry the other internet traffic. Got it? This is explicitly laid for carrying the traffic between the data centers. Hope it is clear, no? So one more terminology is each and every region. No, here it will be denoted with something like this: US hyphen West hyphen 2, US hyphen West hyphen 1. So if you take something like Asia Pacific Mumbai, it is AP South hyphen 1. Okay, so this is the naming convention they will follow. If you go to availability zone, right, you will be having 1A, 1B, something like this. As the availability zone increases, right, alphabetically this will increase. So if I go to the computing, that's why, right, whenever you try to create, if you want to create an instance, now first you will go to services, and in compute you will click on this EC2 instances. Whenever you click this EC2 instances, right, okay, here you will be able to see, you are able to see, right, here you are able to see the regions. If I want to switch bit, now I am in US North, US East Northern Virginia. If I want to switch to Asia Pacific Mumbai, right, I have to click this one, then I will be moved to that particular region. Okay, this is how you will select your region. And here if you see now, these are the zones that are present. So if you see this Mumbai region now, you will be having only three three availability zones. If I go to Northern Virginia, here you are having some six. So the availability zones will vary from region to region. Some may have three, some may have four, some may have six. Okay, here you can see the count: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There will be some now. I will tell you one thing. Like now, you are buying one product, okay, which is AWS for your company for spinning some virtual machines or something. So as a product, right, it should support multiple types of instances, right? So I will show you. So normally, right, there is some categorization. So like there are different types of applications, right? One is something like CPU intensive, some are memory intensive, some are storage intensive. Everyone knows, right? If you are developing some application may be like CPU which consumes more CPU. In the same way, this AWS, what they have done, right, they have provided this hardware configuration, okay, in terms of the usage. If a system is more compute optimized, right, you will be having different sets of this configurations like C6G medium. Okay, these are the basically the instance types. So you will be having some different instance types. So you will be having like, it will support from one vCPU to it will support more than some 128 or like 256 vCPU, and it provides some ton like abundant RAM also. So here, right, you will be charged based on the instance you choose. Here, yeah. So basically, these are characterized as something like compute optimized, memory optimized, accelerated computing, and storage optimized. So if you are this general purpose, right? This general purpose will be used for a normal medium-sized web applications. Like if you are spending some instance for creating a web application which supports some 100 users or 2,000 or 200 users or 500 users, right? You can go with this general purpose. So if you feel like the application is having more CPU, consuming more CPU, okay, and what you can do, right, you can upgrade this thing to this one, compute optimized. But what this compute optimized will provide, right, it will provide some like more CPU. Okay, and the instance families are something like C5, C5N, and C4. Basically, you will be selecting. You have to choose like T2 micro, A1, T3, T2, something like that. You have to. You no need to memorize. If you go to the documentation, no, you will be able to see. Okay, so if it is a memory optimized, right? Memory, why will if the system is consuming more memory, right? Then you will be going with the memory optimized. So if you are doing some cache operations, okay, for every transaction or something, if that needs to be stored in the memory, right? Then you need some more RAM, right? So for those kind of applications, right, you will can go with the memory optimized. There is something like accelerated computing. In accelerating computing, right, you will be having some good processing power. Okay, so if you are doing some graphics, or if you are using some video making or something, no, you can go with this accelerated computing. Storage means you will be using this for the databases where you will be having high input output operations. So for storage, right, it needs more storage, right, more disk space it should have. Okay, so basically, right, it will be having some NVMe SSD storages, okay, such that that IO operations will be whatever the read and write operations, no, input output operations will be fast on the disk, and the performance would be better. So whenever you are creating a VM, first thing is you have to make sure like what this application is for, whether it is memory intensive, or whether it is a database, or it is a web server. Okay, or this application requires more CPU. Based on that, you have to choose your VM appropriately.
Uh, I have one doubt.
Yeah, tell me.
So, is this the only available options to select, or is there any customized options also available based on our need?
No, customized options won't be there,
Okay.
but you will be having lot of options. So if you see this compute optimized, I will show in UI, that will be better in this console itself. So you can filter it over here. Okay, all generations. Currently, right, it is starting with one CPU. If I do a reverse search, it can support some 448 vCPU. Okay, and the minimum RAM is like 0.5 GB memory, and it is scaling to around like 12k, 12.2k RAM. It is, you have instances with this much size. Got it? For instance storage, no, it will start with EBS only, and it can scale to around like 13k into 24 disks. So the categorization, based on your bandwidth, how much bandwidth you need, okay, and what disk size and memory size and vCPU size, right, you will be choosing your virtual machines.
Okay. So we'll have lot of options in different
Yes, you
variants.
have, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
For each, right, you will be having so many options. So you no need a custom.
Yeah. Okay. Thank
So
you.
for each category, you will be having like this much. It is all together. But if you choose one category, right, if it is a T2, then you will be having some VCP 1 to 8. So if this doesn't work for you, right, then first thing is like what you need. Here it is based on the this one, no, based on your type of application, whether you are going with your application is memory intensive or CPU intensive, or whether it needs more storage, right? Based on that, you will be selecting the instance type. Okay, here in instance families, you will be having lot many like C4, C5N. You have to search here, and you have to use it. And
So
one more
are we
thing,
going?
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. Are we going to see this in detail? I mean, for which real-time use cases like DB, something kind of DB or something in more in detail?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Simple, simple. So if it is something like general purpose, right? Mostly we'll do with the T2. Okay. And if it is something like CPU, right? You will go with the C5 or memory optimized. You can try this one. Okay. But this is just they will that architect will give one instance number. Okay. You no need to bother much. Got it?
Okay. But ideally, we should know, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
are in
That will be there.
position to.
That will be there. That
Yeah,
we will take care. And one more thing is, if you are creating something in cloud, no, it is a zero trust network. Okay, in AWS, if you create any virtual machine, no, okay, that network is a zero trust network. Means by default, everything will be blocked. If you create an instance, right, it doesn't mean like you will be able to access it directly. So, like if you install some Tomcat server in a VM in Amazon. Okay, once the installation is completed, if you give IP address, it won't work. Why? Because it is a zero trust network. Okay, so why? And there will be something like security groups which will enable you to control the flow of traffic. Means it will enable the ports. Okay, so there will be two types of traffics, you know, right? Okay, if this is my application. Okay, this is the user. Okay, this is my application EC2 instance application. This is my VM. There will be two types of traffic. One is the traffic that is sent from user to VM, and this is the request, and one would be the response. So whenever user sends a request, right, that would be the response. So the traffic that is coming from user to VM, right, that is called as like inbound traffic. The traffic that is response. Okay, the traffic that is coming from the VM to the user is called outbound traffic. Okay, so by default, right, this inbound traffic will be blocked by default, and by default, this outbound traffic will be enabled. Means it won't allow inbound traffic, but if a request reaches the VM, no, it will send the response. This would be the default behavior. Now, if I am accessing my application, okay, if I am installing one VM, and in that VM I am installing some Tomcat. So first thing is like for installation I have to do a login. Let us assume like that is a Linux instance. So I have to log in via SSH, right? So for that there is a port called like 22. So we have to enable the port 22 explicitly. Next, now I want to install some web server in it. Okay, the port will be something like HTTP or HTTPS. Then explicitly I have to enable the port HTTP or HTTPS port TT or 443 to access the application. You got it? So whatever based on the application what you install, whether it is a MySQL or SQL server, you have to for accessing the application, right? You have to enable the corresponding port. Okay, this will be done in the security group. Okay, this will be done in the security group. From internet, whatever the traffic that is coming is inbound, whatever the traffic that is going is is outbound. Okay, there will be one security group that will be created which will control the traffic. So in security group you will be having some inbound rules and outbound rules. So in inbound rules, right, if I want to enable HTTP, then I have to mention the port. Okay, I want to open this port and what is the source. So if you want, now let us assume like, there is one application, okay, that needs to be accessed only within some subnet. Okay, you can specify that as well. If you want to mention like, let us assume like, uh, in your company it has some CIDR, some IP address range. Your company has some IP address with some specific range. If you want to access that application from your office, then you can specify only the source. If you put 0.0.0.0, right, it will be accessible globally. If you mention any IP range, no, it will be like accessed from only that region. Okay, from that subnet only. So if you want to do a RDP, if you are spinning a Windows instance, now you want to do a remote desktop. So the port for the remote desktop is 3389. So you have to enable the port explicitly. Hope you are clear, right? The security groups will be a bit confusing. Are you clear on the security groups?
Can you just go through again? Sorry.
Okay, so by default, no issues, no issues. By default, if you are creating any instance, right, an instance in cloud, by default it is vulnerable, correct or not? If you are creating some instance in
Yeah.
internet, okay, it is vulnerable. So this cloud provider, the AWS, what they have come up, right, first they will restrict all the access. Means they will close all the ports. It won't open anything, you can't even access it. Okay, so that would be the default behavior. So based on the application you install, now you have spinned your uh, instance or VM, okay, for installing some MySQL. Okay, then what you have to do, you have to, while creating the VM, right, you have to enable the port which are required you to work on it. One is the 3306, that is the port of MySQL. And for logging in, if you are working on Windows machine, then you need RDP, remote desktop. If you are working on Linux instance, then you need SSH. So these, whatever the ports that are required, those only will be opened by you. Even ping also won't work. If you want to ping, to make it want work, right, you have to enable the corresponding ICMP port. By default nothing will be enabled. Based on your usage, then you have to, based on the service you install in the particular VM, you have to open that port. If you create a VM, okay, and if you are unable to connect it, right, then first point of troubleshooting would be the security group. You have to see whether the security group has corresponding rule added it or not. Clear? By default the behavior would be, it won't allow anything inside. Based in, I think in your security also there will be something like security testing, right, where they will be doing the security testing and they will be doing the port scanning. During port scanning, what they will do, right, they will see whether the ports, additional ports are opened. Because now I'm spinning one application and it is for web service. What I have done is, I have enabled some service which is like FTP. In it, one port is opened for FTP. What hacker may do, hacker may try to exploit that FTP. Using FTP he can log in, at least he can do something, right, he can view or view files or something. So whatever the file, whatever the ports that are required only will be opened. Now you are clear, huh?
Okay. Yeah. So these ports mapping and the services, I mean protocol mapping and all maintained in the security groups.
Yes, correct. So we have some time. What we will do, right? So we'll go to services. Okay, you can click on this EC2 instance. Okay, or you can type EC2 here. Okay, in the search bar, if you type EC2, right, it will take you to that EC2, the same page. Okay, here, right, it will show you the what are the instances, how many instances are running, that status it will show. So if you want to create one VM, no, first thing is like we have to click on the launch instances. Okay, so whenever you want to create an image, or whenever you want to create an instance, the first thing is you have to choose your operating system. Okay, so in your on premises, what will happen, there will be some admin. Okay, he will be installing the our required operating system, whether it is Linux or Windows, and he will be delivering to you, right? And the installation may take hours. So but in cloud, what will happen, no, there will be something like AMIs, Amazon Machine Image. So these are the pre-built images. Okay, just you will use them. Okay, it won't take much time. It will, the instance will be created in 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, so these are the pre-built images with some like if you consider this Amazon Linux storage, it will be having some tunings also. That would be the difference from the normal image. If you take the normal image in Linux, you have to do your tunings and all those, right? When you take these images, these are bit fine-tuned images with respect to the operating system. Okay, now what I have to do, there are like multiple images. If you go to something like AWS, one second. So here you are having some operating systems like Linux, Mac. Okay, and you are having Ubuntu, SUSE, Linux, Windows. So just a type, if you want Windows, now you just type double Windows. If you search, right, you will be presented with the op different flavors of operating system of Windows. Okay, now I want to go with Linux, means I have to search here. So it will be presented with the multiple Linux operating systems. Okay, while creating a virtual machine, no, you have to use something like a free tier eligible. So if you are using any machine which is something like this, which is not free tier eligible, no, then you will be charged. So there will be something like there will be some criteria. As part of your account, no, free tier account, you will be having some benefits, like you can spin around like 750 hours of EC2 instances. Okay, it can be something like EC2 Linux or Red Hat or Amazon. So totally, right, you can spin around like 750 hours. First 750 hours there won't be any charge. Okay, you can spin 750 hours of RDS. Okay, these are RDS is nothing but this database. You can create 750 hours of the database, and you can create something around like 25 GB of storage. Okay, and there will be something related to alarms and the bandwidth. But as part of this course, right, this much we won't use this 15 GB of bandwidth and all those. Just make sure like you have to turn off your VM once your work is done. If you breach that 750 hours within that year, no, you will be charged. And AWS Amazon won't give you all the instances for free. Okay, so there will be some instances which are free tier eligible. Okay, so you can use this free tier eligible, and once you are done, right, you can stop the instance. Okay, Amazon won't give all the services for free. Okay, some are paid and some are free. So if it is a free tier eligible, right, here it will be displayed as free tier eligible. Okay, now I am selecting my operating system. Okay, now tell me one thing. Whenever you are creating a in on premises, if you are creating some virtual machine or you are creating one operating system, okay, you want to spin one application server, what you need? Generally you need something like storage, you need something like networking. Okay, you need something like disks, okay, and you need something like what to say, like username and password for logging to that machine, and you will be choosing some cores, right, whether it is some 16 vcpu or like 32 vcpu and corresponding ram and the disk, right. These are the basic elements which you will provide for creating a like a application server, right. In the same way, here also the same details will be provided, but you will be having one UI to select it. Just pick it. Just now I have mentioned, right, here you will be having different types of virtual machines or instances. So if you see here, no, you are seeing something like free tier eligible. So with your free tier account, no, you have to use only these VMs which are highlighted in free tier eligible. If you spin other instances, no, you will be charged. Make sure like you will be using these free tier machines, but in your offices, right, you can select the instances based on your need. Okay, now I have to go to click on the next. So here you will be having like how many instances you want to create, whether it is 1 or 10 or 50 or 100. So let us assume like there is a typical scenario, like if you want to spin some 10 to 15 test machines, okay, if you are doing your testing, right, for 10 people, then you can create some 10 machines over here. Okay, now there is something like network. So what I told initially, first split would be something like region. If you are creating an instances, first thing is you have to use your, you have to select your region. Okay, in that, what is your availability zone, correct? Okay, and this is the region and this is the availability zone. In this availability zone, in this data center, I may have different networks. No, in data center you will be having multiple networks. If I'm creating a new VM, it should have a different network, no. Okay, now what they will do, right, they will create some network, okay, which will have some cider. You will be having some network, okay. In that network you will be spinning your virtual machine. Okay, in our case, right, what we are choosing, you are selecting the region as Northern Virginia. Okay, I am selecting my region as Northern Virginia. Next, what is the availability zone? Here you will be having something like subnet is there, right? This subnet is nothing but the availability zone. Okay, so I am choosing something like 1F. Here I am choosing something like US 1F. Okay, I am not typing completely. I'm giving something like hyphen 1F I am choosing. Okay, this will have one network. In that network I am creating my region. So this would be the hierarchy. First you have to select the region. Okay, if I'm creating my instance, right, in Northern Virginia, I have to select this region. Okay, if I'm selecting in some other region, no, I have to select that particular region. If I want to create in India, then I have to select this region. Next is the available seat zone. In this network, no, you will be doing the that configuration. So you will be by default, right, you will be using the default network that is created by the AWS. Okay, this can be custom also. We'll see like how to create a custom network in future, but this subnet is nothing but a availability zone. So you will be having total of 6 subnets here. So each subnet will be corresponding to different availability zone. Okay, now I have selected my network. Okay, now it needs one IP address to access the application. Okay, there are two types of IP addresses. One is the public and one is the private. Okay, so IP addresses are two types. public, and the next one would be private. Okay, so public IP address means it can be accessible from everywhere. Private IP address means it will be restricted to that particular subnet. Okay, in your home also you will be having one router. Okay, whenever you connect to that router, no, for accessing the internet, what you will have, you will be assigned each and every laptop or mobile, right? It will be assigned with some private. Okay, that's why whenever you do a file transfer or something, no, you can share your files within that network, and that will be accessible only within that router only, right? So that are private net, private IPs. So you understood this now? So you are designing some application, something like this. Okay, this is your environment. You are having one region. In that, what they told, no, your client has told like there is one application server and a DB that will be installed in that particular instance, and this is the app server, and you will be having something like a DB server. Okay, so in this is my region. In that I am having one subnet, sorry, in the one availability zone. In that availability zone I have created one network. Okay, we have created one something like virtual VPC we will call. Okay, virtual private, okay, network. Here what we have done, right, my requirement is something like this. I will be installing two applications. One is the app server, one is the DB server. And for this, right, whenever a user sends a request, user sent a request, it should come to my application server. Okay, so this application server will have public address as well as the IP address. Sorry, this private IP. Okay, public and private it will have. Okay, but what I told, I don't want to put my DB server in a public network. Okay, my requirement is something like no one will expose their DB server in the public. What they will do, from application server using the private IP, okay, they will connect it to the DB server. Okay, from application server they will be using the private IP address and connect it to the server. For any instance that is created, right, by default it will get the private IP. Got it? Public IP address needs to be assigned, okay, by selecting the option, something like this. So if you want public IP address or not, that will be mentioned over here. By default, right, it will be enabled. And there will be one more use case here. User sends a request, okay, and one more thing I want to highlight, right? Let us assume both has public IP addresses. Okay, if I send a request using the public IP address, what will happen? This request has to take the internet path. Okay, if I'm having both applications in internet, okay, then this, whenever I send a request, right, it has to come over internet. Okay, and if I give a private IP address, no, that will be happening within the backbone network of the AWS. Got it? It is something like this one. In phones, normally you will be having, in offices you will be having like a extension, local numbers as well as the like a public number, no. If you want to dial in, you can dial using the complete number, or you will be having some extensions, no. Normally within office you will dial via extensions. Why? Because it will be like routed internally. You won't come via the complete towers and all those, right? That is same as this one. Okay, so this is something like IP address.
So that is in, you are selecting subnet setting enable, right? So that will enable the private public IP connectivity
Public
setting.
IP. So if I enable this as, if I select use default setting or enable, no, I will be getting the public IP address for that particular instance whatever I'm creating. If I give as disabled, then I won't get. So there will be some instances which needs security, means I don't need to log in. Okay, so if I want to log in, I have to there will be some concepts I will highlight. If no, like if you take something like a DB server, right, you won't expose it to internet. For such kind of instances, right, you can put the disabled and create the instance. Got it?
Yeah, if we put disable, then is it assume as private IP or?
Yes, 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 only private, you won't get public. Every instance will get public, like every instance will get private IP. That is by default behavior. If you want public, you have to explicitly mention.
Okay. So now we are exposing that in internet public.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, we'll see this this is more of theory, like capacity, the placement groups and all those. I don't want to take these things on the first day. It will be like too much theory. Okay, that's why I'm jumping into this one. Okay, there will be something like IAM rules and all those for first day, right? Just we have to concentrate on this one. There is something like a shutdown behavior. Okay, shutdown behavior, there are like stop and terminate. So let us assume, like if I shut down an instance, what should happen? It should delete or stop. That can be controllable by using this option. If you click on terminate now, whenever you stop the instance, right, what will happen, right? This instance will be deleted by default. Okay, now you are doing some, you are creating some VM for some testing purposes. Okay, sometimes what will happen, right, you will forget, you will stop the VM and you will forget to delete it. Okay, that VM you will just use it for checking the connectivity, and but you won't store any data. Okay, for those VMs, no, what you can do, right, you can put the shutdown behavior as terminate. Accidentally, if you put if you shut down also, it will, once the instance is stopped, no, it will delete the VM automatically. Okay, and there will be something like uh, termination protection. Okay, now what it will do, right, if I check this option, no, now I have created in office, right, multiple people will be having some access. Okay, some 4 or 5 people will be having access to delete the VM. You have created one VM, but someone has accidentally, instead of deleting their VM, there is a like there is instance like they might delete your VM. So you want to control it. What you can do, right, you have to enable this, enable termination protection. So even if someone tries to delete also, if you also try to delete also, it won't be deleted till this is unchecked. If this is like protect accidental termination is unchecked, right, till that time, right, you can't delete that VM. So if you are creating some prod server or something, now if you set this one, right, accidentally no one can delete that VM.
So stop is stopping the instances from spinning, and terminate
Shutdown
is
behavior,
delete.
no, no,
Yeah.
there two different things. One is shutdown behavior is terminate. Your instance is up and running. Okay, you have run the test and you have to
Okay.
stop the VM. Okay, so if your VM is having some like automation suite that is already configured in that particular VM, no, then you can choose as stop, means you can reuse that VM. Got it? And you have spinned the VM for checking the connectivity and doing some sanity purposes, and you won't store any data in that explicitly. Such machines you can put the shutdown behavior as terminate. Means even if you no need to explicitly terminate or delete it. If you just stop it, automatically AWS will delete the VM.
So sorry, bit confused here. So my understanding is, so stop means the instance will be there.
Ah, yes,
Terminate
correct,
means AWS will delete that instance. You need to create
correct.
it from the scratch again.
Yes,
So that stop case. So once our test or something, if any performance testing is completed, we need to stop that. Yeah, I mean that machine as LG from LG using that instances for spinning resources, right?
yes.
So that won't charge. I mean, even if you click stop or terminate, that won't, I mean, change in star the cost, right? Additional cost,
No, no.
cost
If the
implication.
VM is running, you will be charged per hourly basis. If it is up,
Okay.
it will be charged. It doesn't mean like you have to run the test. If the EM is instance is turned on, you will be charged.
Okay. So the stop means the configuration,
It will
everything will
stump.
be same, but it will not
Ah,
be running anything. So terminate
yes.
means everything will be shut down. I
No,
mean,
it will
the
delete.
instances also,
VM itself will
instances also.
instance delete. Correct.
Okay. So from our testing purpose or any other usage purpose, if you continuously keep on using the VM for some days, then at the end of the day, we need to stop that one only.
Yes, but there will be some instances like each and every time there will be some hundreds of instances piled up. Okay, so you are doing it for say, checking the connectivity and all those. Explicitly, you won't store any data. Okay, like you won't have LGs and all those, but you will do it for the functional testing. Got it? Just checking the connectivity and all those URLs you will be doing. So on daily basis, if you are having some 100 VMs, sometimes if you don't remember what you will do explicitly, you will create a new VM and use it, right? That would be the behavior of a human.
Okay. Wastage
Okay,
of.
yeah. So you can put it as terminate. If you select a terminate, as soon as you stop it, right, it will be deleted.
Okay.
Okay, if you
Okay.
want your this enable termination protection is something like if someone accidentally wants to delete, right, he can't do that.
Okay.
Okay, so this one tenancy and all those we'll see later. So if you go to the storage, no, you will be having normally, right, whenever you create a like what to say, like server, no, you will be defining like how much disk space it reads or what type of application it is, whether you are storing it for backups, okay, or whether you are storing it for like a web server, or whether you are storing it for DB, right? So based on that, right, you have to select this disk space disk. So there will be different types of disk basically. One is like general purpose, provisioned IOPS, and magnetic. So magnetic won't have much input output rate. Okay, so they generally these will be used for backups. Okay, so and if you are using general purpose SSD, right, everything will be SSD except this magnetic. Okay, in this general purpose, right, if you want to deploy your web server, app server, okay, for those applications you can choose the general purpose. Okay, whereas provisioned IOPS, it is more of like a DB. If you are writing some too much data into, if you are doing some excessive logging, or if you are having a DB which needs some higher read and write operations, no, then you will go with the provisioned IOPS. Okay, so here you will be having control of selecting the type of disk that is required. So let us assume I am doing some operations. Okay, I'm spinning some DB server. So if I choose my general purpose, right, it won't fit in. Okay, you have to choose provisioned IOPS. So provisioned IOPS will have more input output operations. So actually I will take this one tomorrow, because like you will be having some, like there are multiple options here. Okay,
Okay.
so each will take 2 3 minutes. That's why it's already 9, right? So
Yeah,
it will
yeah.
take 1 or 2 days to complete. So I was mentioning security group here, no, here we will be adding that rules over here. In security groups, if I want to, if I'm spinning Linux, then this SSH came by default. If I'm installing one web server, no, just I have to select some port HTTP. If I select the HTTP port, it will open the HTTP. If I want to enable HTTPS, I can select HTTPS here. Then it will open the port something like 443. So like that we will define. Got it? So we'll wind up for today. We'll see tomorrow.
Yeah, we did. No doubt. You
Yeah.
have that free account, right? So can we also create and do the
Yes, tomorrow we'll do.
trials on it?
Today I don't want to do it. Just I will give
Yeah,
you some
okay.
glimpse on what is region and what is availability zone. Maybe like you, someone share your screen tomorrow. Okay, you should have this credit